My fellow Americans, I am the Airtam Man. You may recognize me from my years on my internet talk show. Tonight, I come before you to inform you of recent events. Due to your utter failings and inability to govern yourselves, I have officially decided to take control of your nation myself. Naturally, I am eminently qualified to this task, as I have previous experience ruling a nation in utter prosperity before it was destroyed in flames. To ease the transition, I have taken hold of both Congress and the House. Each member has been infected with Vitruvian brain centipedes. These lovely little parasites have made each and every one of them susceptible to my suggestions, allowing me to make the necessary changes in this country, without petty things like politics getting in the way. See? Everyone's much better off, I assure you. In the coming days and weeks, I will be making multiple announcements, explaining to you these changes to your country in detail so you may understand how your lives will be improved. The first change I am enacting will see your governing system benefit once I choose to leave office. Henceforth, I am issuing a presidential decree eliminating the Electoral College that has been the basis of your voting system since the 1800s. Now, to smooth the transition, I'm going to take a moment to inform you how the system works, since most of you barely have a clue how your own country functions. When you go into that voting booth and check a little box, you are not voting on a candidate. What you are doing is voting on the elector, who will in turn vote on a candidate. In theory, this system would be beneficial, in the sense that you are choosing someone else far more qualified than you to weigh the facts and determine who the best person for the job is. Except your forefathers almost instantly f***ed the system over by just voting down the party line. There is no analysis, no weighing of pros and cons, and choosing who will be the better person to take over as president. No. All they do is vote red or blue dependent on their party affiliation. There's no thought in this process, much as there's no thought in so many voters checking boxes based on an R or a D. They can vote based on their own interpretation, but both parties have filled the positions with long-standing loyal Ds and Rs, that the chance of them doing anything other than voting the other D or R is insignificant. Secondarily, looking into the past of the Electoral College reveals that it was never intended to be a fair system that protects the people from charismatic tyrants, as you forefather wankers like to idealize. It's made to protect the low-population states from the large population states, you cry. Shut up and go back to school, you uneducated twit, and quit living in fantasy land. The Electoral College was devised as a way to protect the interests of the southern slave-owning states against the interests of the northern states, since, slaves couldn't vote like human beings. Well, James Wilson proposed a direct election for the office of president, as, the states themselves do. James Madison had another idea. The Electoral College would protect the rights of slave owners by allowing them to count them as a percentage towards their own vote. And of course, those southern states had to be appeased. So guess what? When the Electoral College was instituted on the promise of equal representation among states, suddenly Madison's home slave state of Virginia had 20% more electoral votes than Wilson's free state of Pennsylvania, with 10% more free voting population. So it discouraged states from freeing slaves because they could then move north and in turn lose those state electoral votes. Gee, I wonder why the whole states' rights thing became such an issue. Politicians, preying on your sense of freedom versus protection to gain more power since the start. And this is precisely why I'm removing the Electoral College. It is a broken system built on lies and fabrications intended to make it easier to f*** you over, people. No longer did a candidate have to convince all of us, the people, of their worth as a leader. Instead, they began focusing on swing states that would allow them to win without needing to win the popular vote. The system in turn discourages people from voting, as, truly, your vote does not matter. Imagine yourself to live in a place where everyone else in your neighborhood believes in a different party from you. This breeds an atmosphere of apathy, as effectively your vote, your opinion, will simply be discarded unless you make the correct choice. Perhaps your opinion falls in line with the majority of the country, but your limited perspective on a local level tells you that you are irrelevant. It does the opposite of what the fantasy idealized version of the Electoral College proposes. In an age where you could not possibly know what was going on at a nationwide level due to the delocalized nature of the still growing country and the snail's pace of news, voting on a local elector who you could know and trust was a way to protect people. However, this is now an age of information. Everything you could possibly want to know to educate yourself on the candidates is seconds away at your fingertips, much to said candidate's chagrin. It functions as a process to sideline you from your own government because they feel you too ignorant to choose your own leader, which in turn allows charismatic asshats to sway specific areas with pie-in-the-sky promises, while the more informed majority looks on in horror as tyrants build bases of power and keep you, the people, weak and powerless to stop them. Because when you can keep people infighting at the local level, no problems can be repaired on a national level. And, as a result, voter turnout has been decreasing every year as your government seeks to marginalize you even more with their own two-faced agendas. But I'm here to change that. From this day forward, the onus is on you, as an individual, to know who you are putting into power, to see not only what a candidate promises you, but also your neighbors in this nation. No longer will your votes be discarded. Now, as so many have harped on in the past in a limp-mouth service to democracy, every vote counts. Disenfranchised on a local level? Feel ensured that you have brothers and sisters of like mind 2,000 miles away. You are no longer alone in your small pond. Your voice will now be heard in this ocean we call the United States. And no longer may you be complacent, assured of which way your state will go, how you feel the country will go. Pay attention to what the course of your country is taking, for good or ill. You matter. So vote, and let the country be shaped by your will. After I'm done fixing your broken system, of course. Do with this new freedom as you desire. Thank you, and good night.